I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
We're live,
Pretty
everyone.
good.
It's exciting.
Woo! Yes. Welcome to the Live at the Porpentine VIP Lounge, everyone. Thank you so much for joining, especially all of you who are in the chat. We had a really great show today. I mean, even though it's a film, so it's going to be relatively the same every time, but it was a good time.
Relatively the same.
Yeah, you know, relatively. You never know. How are you all doing?
Is that a question for us?
Yeah. Oh,
That was sure.
Well, I can't
Good.
complain. My back's a bit sore, but all right.
Yeah, you've been busy, David, putting it all together.
Yeah. It looks great. It looks great. The color, the sound, it just looks great. It's such a fun film. Such a fun film.
Oh, thank you, Richard.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to tell you how great I think you are in it. It's amazing.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank
Rich
you,
here.
David.
You really be cracking me up.
It's
Especially in
it
that
it
scene
was
where you come through the laundry and then when you leave with them shades on. Get me every time.
it was a lot of fun, and I got to say thank you, David, because and of course, Melissa, you guys have always allowed me to experiment, and I definitely wanted to take this character, a certain route, and I think it works. It's fun. It's fun to watch it. It's fun. It was kind of fun watching I was like, oh my god, I nailed what I wanted to do. So I'm happy that you're happy.
Yeah, I think it would be hard to get any more mileage out of that character than you did. I think it's one of the nice things about putting a play into a film is that you get to explore these characters up close in a way that you can't really quite do that on stage. So I think it was really. I think we had a lot of fun with all those sort of little looks and reactions and things that we would never be able to do in the park because the stage is so huge.
Yeah.
And then we also got to explore characters who don't even get any stage time in the play, like Luz,
Yes.
Yeah.
who's steals the show.
It was great. I'm glad you put so many like little hints of her in there. It really developed Javi's character, I think.
It definitely does, yeah.
Yeah.
I think your character is awesome, Tanya. Your scenes are hysterical, and my wife, she's like, oh my god, I love watching her.
Oh.
And I did the show with ISC. We did it in 2012, I think. 2012, 2013. And I actually played one of the Dromios, and I'm the one that talks about Luce and all this. And I was like, wait a minute, she's not in the play. So it was a really nice surprise to have this character come to life and see all these moments. And you were just wonderful in it. You were wonderful.
Thank you. And it's great to see all and hear all of the original music that was written and recorded. It just really brought it all together.
Thank you. That was a lot.
I can only imagine, David. Yeah, David, who wrote all the music in the film, which is wild.
No, that was I've really enjoyed doing all of that. It was a great learning experience. So, but it's also kind of terrifying. Yeah. So, no, it was really fun. But I mean, when Dromio has the monologue about Luce, I don't know if you remember it so well, Richard, but he describes a very different person than
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like this big, and yeah, I remember.
It's a very rude speech, honestly.
Well, I guess the tone of that speech is that, I think that Dromio is kind of horrified by this person that's all over him, that he's, we thought it would be fun to sort of turn that on its head and, actually have him kind of fall for her and and be sort of, less of the body shaming and more of the, but still keep, because there's something in that monologue that sort of makes her she comes across as a sexual predator.
A little bit. Yeah.
I gotta say, I far prefer this rendering of it, and I don't miss that monologue at all. Although that's
to
and
Dromio,
the moment where you're cleaning his face, I'm always like, oh, look at the relationship.
That was so gross.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, because we wanted you to lick some off, so we had to make sure that because Tanya's vegan, we had to make sure that the ice cream was vegan.
Yeah,
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, there were some loose bits that sadly didn't make it in. Like, there was a wonderful bit of you frying some bananas with a cigarette when we tried to get the ash so it would stay on the cigarette over the frying pan.
I don't smoke, so every time a cigarette was lit backstage, I was like, David, help me out here. I can't do this.
Well, none of us smoke. I mean, it's the 60s and everybody smoked back then. So
yeah.
Yeah. When my love Teddy saw the throwing the pots over the edge of the balcony scene, he's like, where is that? They're at the studio, right? Me. Where is that? And I was like, oh, it's right there. We shouldn't be up there.
Oh yeah.
But it looked really good. It looked like a 2-story building.
I know, it was crazy. We just threw that thing up the day before because we didn't want a building finding out we were building another story.
Every time I see that, I'm always like, how did they make that work? And how far back?
Oh, my goodness.
Kenya's big computer.
Yes.
So cool.
Can you introduce everyone to your friend?
This is Kenya the snake, and she's roaming around. There we go. There we go, Kenya.
And everyone in the chat, if you have any questions, please feel free to plop those down there. But I would love it if we can maybe start by talking about, David, I know you've been doing a whole lot of work, a whole lot of editing on this and what it's been like. And Tanya, you're also a filmmaker whom I've been lucky enough to be directed by both of you.
Yeah.
Can you talk about what it's like, the differences in directing and putting things together as opposed to like theater and film?
Well, it's I mean, there's many similarities, of course, but it's I think you have to be a lot more disciplined and prepared. I mean, I was saying last week that my directing style for the stage is to be as unprepared as possible, so that I can, leave room for the people in the room to create the show, and I just sort of facilitate it. But I think with a movie, because you have a constrained amount of time, you can't really rely on being able to collaborate with people in the same way that you can. And I always love to try and incorporate everyone's ideas, and you can't quite do that as much on a film set. Although I think there's a little room, So, and I think for this, making a screenplay of it, I had to really sort of picture in my head exactly what was going to happen in each scene and how the scenes were going to interact with each other. And I think with maybe a couple of minor little bits where we sort of interlaced a bit of a scene or something, what you see on the screen is pretty much what we shot. And so a lot of what we would end up devising in a sort of collaborative rehearsal period for the stage, for better or for worse, ended up being, me writing it in a scene direction, Not that there weren't times when we were like, oh yeah, we could try this, or and we did have a limited amount of rehearsal where we came up with some. We worked on the silent comedy bits, and but yeah, no, so that aspect of it is very different, and it's a very anticlimactic process compared to the stage, because you shoot it, and then there's a rap party, and that sort of feels like, oh, it's kind of like opening night or something, and then
right,
and then but then it's not, then you're done, but it's like not even half the work is done, then it's sort of you and a different team, and in this case much smaller. It was mostly just me and William and Harry towards the end doing the sound mix. William did all of the editing, and I was going back and forth with him about the cut and everything, and then just in the last 6 weeks we've been working on the sound mix, and so you kind of, somebody posted some pictures from the set the other day. I was like, oh, you kind of forgot that's actually part of the process.
Wow, because you've been so removed for so long.
Yeah, because you're sort of attached to the process of it for me is going into the garage and getting very frustrated with bits of hardware.
So David scored the film as well, in addition to all the music, all the music you're hearing under everything. That's David too, and that's
I mean, it's I think it works for this, but it's a very cheap way of doing it.
And you're talented.
Well, I had to learn a lot of things. Before we did this, I could only really. I mean, when I was the musicals and stuff that I've written, I would mostly just write on my iPhone on voice memos, and I'd be lucky enough to have Jim Lang. We could go to his recording studio to do everything. But in the pandemic, I built a little voice booth in the garage and made a little recording studio. So we were able to really do all of it there. Apart from the last song, Jim, he helped sort of really put all that together. So he did that. It was an awful lot, and it's sort of never really done. We're still working on this. There's still a couple of lines that need to be ADR. There's still some music cues that we're really just thrown together. So always sort of working on it, and it's just strange. I mean, you really need to be able to watch it with a group of people. I mean, this is, I have to say, not a very satisfying process. Watching a streaming where your only reaction is the chat.
Yeah, I know.
And you can't hear laughter on the chat. You also sort of like, on the one hand, nobody's chatting. It's like, what? They hate it. On the other hand, if people are chatting too much, you're like, why the F aren't you watching the movie? Stop chatting. I don't think this is a very perfect way of doing things, but it's kind of fun. I mean, it's sort of interesting tonight because it's like either mostly the cast or Scott and a few people who've seen it a number of times.
Yeah, shout out to Scott.
True. But it's weird, I really enjoyed it. I loved. It's a dream come true for me. I'd always wanted to direct a movie, and so I've had the best time ever doing it. I know it's it was kind of a horrible reason why we weren't able to be on stage and had to make a film instead, but setting that aside, it was amazing, and I think we all seem to have a really good time. I mean, I think people liked it.
Blast. I had a blast, and
it was a fun set.
Yeah. We do have a question from Scott that was asking what were the scenes that were the most fun for us to shoot, and when did we have the most fun? There's a lot of good stuff. Honestly, I mean, I can say shooting the dining room scene because y'all, I mean, it was over a couple days. First of all, Tanya and Javi were cracking me up with that whole moment happening in the side. It was really difficult to keep a straight face the whole time. And then we just like between me and Makola and Bren and Javi, like the laughter and then trying to keep a straight face because we're supposed to be so serious, especially because we're supposed to be like super shady. Like me and Makola are supposed to be so shady to Javi, but he's over there with those glasses and just cracking us up. We had so much fun. I'm sure there's probably like a lot of cut scenes of us laughing, and then we had to go back and redo it because we were laughing so much. So that was definitely a big one.
Oh yeah, this some of the shots we used were that we used the absolute maximum we could before people broke. And I remember you guys doing it. I mean, I had to almost leave the room because I couldn't stop laughing so much. And even working on it on that sort of long silent bit with Javi, I still laughed every time. I think he's brilliant in it, and Tanya's entrances and you come in and go, it's just so perfect. It was.
I couldn't.
Tanya didn't need any direction for that at all, really. I mean, I don't think you even said a word. You just like read it in the script. So, okay, it's like, okay.
Try this.
In fact, there were a couple of moments actually where I really didn't quite know what to do, and Tanya said, "Why don't you try this, David?" And I was like, "Yeah, thank you. There's another film director here, and I really appreciate it."
Mm-hmm.
I liked that. I mean, this really short moment where Dromio discovers Luce, kind of preying on him in the, I don't know, living room or entry room or upstairs room. I don't know what to call it, but that was really fun because it was just fun to figure out what the angle was behind me because I couldn't see the lens. So I didn't know if I was covering up the lens or whatever, but I knew the dancer in me got to do something fun and cool with movement and use props like the couch and use it to, that was fun. And also fun was for me was that part where we throw the pots, the scene before that where we're like getting into throwing the pots and then dashing out onto the balcony and yelling down at them. It was just a lot of energy and a lot of fun. And I feel like that's when I really got to connect with Dromio on camera. Like he was like resisting, no. And by the end, we're solid.
Yeah. I love that moment. I always, because I wasn't there that day at all. When I first saw it, when we had the first screening, I was like, how did they do? Oh, wait. And I was so disoriented because like I know where things were shot, but I was put in a completely different place. And I was like, oh, and the pots are falling and what is happening?
That was good, really right?
Scene. And then it's the first like movie magic shot where we see like the two
Dromios.
Oh man,
Richard, you have a fun moment.
Yeah, I think probably my funnest moment is I'm when I get arrested, and Patrick, who plays the officer, he has me in the cuffs, and I remember telling David, I'm like, should I do something with this? Should we play with this? And David was like, yeah, what do you want to do? And I'm like, can I bribe him so I can escape? Because we're trying to figure out how do I get out of there. And David was like, try it. Just try something. So I started playing with Patrick, and Patrick just jumped on it. He's like, yeah, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And I said, what if I bribe you? And of course we played the magic number 3, which is the magic number of comedy. Yep. So I'm like, I'm going to offer you 3 bribes, and then at the end you let me go. So the third bribe is like, oh my God, this guy doesn't take my money. What do I give him? And I finally give him the necklace. And Javi saw the film. When he saw the film, he texted me and he's like, Richard, he's like, I had no idea that was going on back there. And it's hysterical. He's like, I had no idea what's going on. And I'm like, you know what? That was probably one of the funnest moments because it all came up. We all came up during that time when we were shooting the scene. We came up with it then. And Patrick just played along with it so well. And then I'm glad that David was able to capture that. And it's such a fun moment. And I watched it and I watched it again. And I just really enjoyed that moment. It's definitely a fun one. Definitely a fun one for me.
Yes, great. And it times so perfectly as well. And it's just on the cusp of being too interesting, but it's not. So
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, it fills in a plot hole as well, which is why why isn't Angelo in the prison if they were both arrested? So you did some. It was a good dramaturgical save in the moment.
That is true. Yeah, I remember the first time I noticed that, I was like, wait, is he bribing him? Because I didn't notice it the first time. And then I was like, oh my gosh. And I can't unsee it. And it's so funny.
Well, I remember telling...
You're still doing it.
Well, I remember telling Patrick, I'm like, we got to be subtle with this because we don't want to take away from the actual scene. So we both played it really subtle. We played it really subtle. And the thing is, we never told Brent or Hobby what we were doing. So it worked well because there's a moment where Brent kind of looks back and Patrick and I are like, whoa, and then he looks away again and we're like, okay, back to the front,
Oh, that's fine. That makes so much sense.
Yeah, so everything was happening right at the moment, which is great. Yeah,
I love that. We also have a follow-up question. Which Dromio do you think is Luce's favorite?
Ooh.
Well, I think we know the answer to that at the end when she gets to have both of them.
Can't pick. You can't. I couldn't choose.
Twins. I mean, they were both equally sweet and cute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not so with the Antipholuses, because Syracuse was really nice, but Ephesus was a bit of a dick.
He was. We talked about he was dealing with his own stuff. Missing his family. He was dealing with a lot, and not necessarily processing it in the best way. But there will be healing.
He's got some issues.
Trying to make a case. David, also, do you want to share with the audience how to make our signature drink, the chain reaction?
I mean, is there anybody watching this broadcast that hasn't already seen me demonstrate this? Because
yes, we have our guest from Australia, I believe.
Is he on YouTube? There's only 9 people watching, and I think they're all cast.
Write something.
Well,
write something, watchers.
You don't have to if you don't want to. That's cool.
I mean, I
share
can.
the recipe another time or something.
I mean, I think the only audience member left is Scott, and he doesn't drink. So.
All right. Well, on that note, I will share something that I have that is a special treat for our audience. We have a really special message from an OG ISC ensemble member that I'm going to share with y'all because it's very cute, and then we'll talk about it after.
Hi, I'm Sean Pritchett, and I have an ISC story. In exchange for the story, or even in spite of it, I hope you make a donation to the Independent Shakespeare Company. 10 years ago, I was cast in ISC's production of the Comedy of Errors as part of the 2012 Griffith Park Free Shakespeare Festival. Now, as the title suggests, the play is a comedy. It involves 2 sets of identical twins, so mistaken identity runs rampant, and it's chaotic and silly and has a happy ending. It's a very fun story. It's even now on Hollywood's radar. There's a brand new film adaptation called Live at the Porpentine that is definitely worth checking out. Now, half a score year ago, I was cast as one half of the Antipholus twins, with the other half being played by Andre Martin. Now, Andre is an incredible actor. He's an insightful chameleon. He'll have you rolling in the aisles one minute and then break your heart the next. And he and I had worked quite a bit together at ISC, so we were really looking forward to playing brothers. One midnight, we're out discussing the play, and Andre says to me, "Want to hear something weird? You're not going to believe this. My mom is a twin." I said, "Really?" "Yeah, that is weird because my mom is a twin too." There we were, the spawn of twins, about to play twins to each other. In the history of theater, this has never happened before. Ever. Probably. But talk about setting a muse on fire. At first light, we go to an elite stylist and get matching haircuts. Kate Bishop works her costume magic on us, and we look remarkably alike. So much so, our backstage is a bit chaotic. Now, Richard Azurdia and Bobby Placencia, who are playing the Dromio twins, now, they're incredible. They look amazing. During Tech Week, we're all kind of doing double and quadruple takes to make sure we're with the right scene partner. But the rest of the cast, they've got us all mixed up. And everybody is thinking, I'm Andre. Andre! Andre, come here. Andre! Why is he... Andre! Oh, Sean! Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, did you think that was Andre? We did, Bernadette. I did too. Me three. We were looking for Andre, but it was just Sean. Even David Melville, co-founder, managing director, and actor extraordinaire who I've known for years. All right, Andre. How's things, mate? David? Late night with the verse, I'm afraid. All those silly balls wrecking havoc with me throat. But life in the arts, eh, Andre? David, I'm Sean. You are? Get out of it. He sounds just like that if you squint your ears. The play opens in the park, and Independent Shakespeare Company has this unique experience where before the play starts and at intermission, we're all walking around the space, talking with the audience and visiting with family and friends. It's very, very special. And I'm meeting tons of people because they all think I'm Andre. Hey, Andre, come here, Andre. Oh, you got to meet Andre. Oh, Andre, we made this for you. Thank you so much. You're the best. Hey, Trey. I'm looking for some friends. They said they had a red blanket. Oh, I saw a red blanket by that tree. Is that them? Oh, yeah, thanks, Andre. I appreciate it. No, you're welcome. Bonjour, Andre, mon petit pois. It's like, me amo Sean, dude. It was obvious. Everybody wanted Andre. No one was mistaking me for me. They wanted to talk to Andre. They wanted to hang out with Andre. You know, Andre told an ISC story about me being popular for like 5 minutes on one night. But I was never as popular as I was that whole summer. I looked like him. And when they found out I wasn't him, so you're the other one. No, that's Andre's stunt double. That's why they're dressed the same. Well, could you go get him? I mean, if you see him, tell him we're here. You're going to want to try this, Andre. Oh, thank you, but I'm not Andre. You're going to want to give that back. Not being wanted, though, allowed me more time with my script. The words of William Shakespeare, the most eloquent poet who posed some of the greatest questions to and for humanity, my own lines included. In what part of her body stands Ireland? In what part indeed, William? In her butt. Timeless. Thank you for listening. Please donate to the Independent Shakespeare Company. Yours sincerely, Chandra.
Oh.
Love it. We got a little sample of that speech. We got some references to Richard and David. What are your thoughts on that?
Chandra.
Chandra. I love that guy. Oh, man. He was always wonderful to work with. Oh, my God. Great story. I loved working with him. That show, we really bonded because, you know, I played his servant, his companion, you know. So we had a blast. Oh man, I miss that guy. Yeah, and it's true though. Him and Andre every time, you know, even me. Sometimes I look, and I'm like, hey Sean, can we? I'm like, oh, that's Andre. Where's Sean? And I'm like, I will go look for you know, Sean, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute. Andre? Oh no, Sean. Sorry, you know, because they just had the same posture. They created this character that, and you know, just they looked identical. But I had no idea that they had twin moms. That is crazy.
Yeah, wild.
Wow. Oh man, love those
Yeah.
guys.
That's so rare. I feel like in a live production of this show to have two actors that look so similar that are not actual twins. Usually you have to use like costuming to really like make that statement. But from the pictures I was like, "Oh yeah, they really did look similar."
And I don't think Sean sort of spins it like, you know,
Mhm.
people are only interested in Andre, and that's not my experience at all. In fact, there was one production we did of Midsummer Night's Dream quite early on where Sean played Puck, and he was wearing, actually his wife at the time did the costumes, and he wore these kind of frilly, furry red shorts and little frilly, furry red cuffs, and nothing else. And his pierced nipples, and I just remember the first performance when he came out, and Freddie Douglas was playing Oberon, and they both have been hitting the gym a lot. So they came out, they both came on stage, and I was standing at the back of the theater, and all of these phones came out to take pictures. It was the first time that, you know, because there was a run when people started getting cameras on their phones, so like, everyone was like, yeah, there was, and we did a school's performance at a girls' school, and by the end of the performance, they'd already started a Facebook fan club for Sean.
Before it was over?
Before it was over.
Wow.
That's so wild.
So yeah, it's not entirely true that they were all interested in Andre, but it was really sweet of him to put that together.
Yeah, that was so cute. And yes, definitely, please, if you liked what you saw today, even if you didn't, make a donation to ISC. Please do. Well, before we kind of wrap up, I just wanted to hear from everyone about what it was like doing this piece during this time, during what's been a very challenging couple years, we all know, for various things, various reasons. But what was it like coming together and making a film with ISC?
Well, it felt like good because performers had a hard time during the pandemic, and personally, I questioned my value. And so it was really validating to get to work, you know, to get to do the work on film or on stage, either thing. So that was really meaningful. And it was crazy. Most of my scenes were shot outdoors. So that was wonderful. But the rap party at the end, that was like the first time I had been around that many people, and we all had masks on. We were all like very careful, but it was fun. We were dancing in the same room together. There was music playing. I was like, this is what I've missed.
Oh yeah, I felt that too, because I was like, and I still am. Sorry, there's still a lot happening in the world, but I was like, I don't want to go anywhere. I don't know when I'll ever be back with people dancing. I still don't know, but the ISC studio, that is a safe space to do that, a safe space to be that close, and it was very fun. And you were giving life. I remember you were doing.
I needed that.
Well, we had the bar built there as well, so it was really sort of. It's still there.
That was the bar's first party.
Yeah, so it's really we've got to keep the bar up for as long as we can because it's actually it pulls the room together.
It does.
Anyone
else? What it was like, you know, coming back together, doing this film?
Well, I you know, it was definitely a blessing, and it was very inspiring that we were able to do this, you know, because you know, after a whole year of just doing Zoom, and it was nice to see friends from across town. You know, we're like, oh my god, I haven't seen you so long. We're doing a reading of, you know, some play on Zoom. but it's just not the same. It's not the same. We all need contact and connection, and as performers who we do theater, we need that audience. But coming back to this and shooting this film, it was definitely such a blessing, and I was so ready to do it. I was so ready to do it. I was willing to do whatever I needed to do just to be part of this, and for people to watch it. And I know ISC has a huge fan base, so I'm like, I can't wait for them to see this, and I'm so proud of it. I am so proud of it. I'm glad I was part of it. I'm glad I got to do it, and to be there with all of you and to work together in person with each other. That was such a great experience, especially spending a whole year and a half almost of not doing anything else but sitting in front of a computer.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's the ISC family, right? It was like we literally were getting to make a film with our family, and it was also that same vibe, that same summer camp vibe that you have on any ISC show or during the
Exactly.
summer, when it's like we're together but we all love each other so much, so it's like we're making this film but we're also having fun, and that on top of, like you said, coming back together. I know for me, that's what was most impactful. And what you were saying earlier as well, Tanya, because I mean, as performers, we want to work, right? And I had missed that. I had missed getting to like really feel like I was part of a full project, and then to be doing that with like people I love so much and my family, and like on this piece that is also just so unique and special, and I can't wait for more people to see it because it really is freaking brilliant. It's really hard to put into words.
I think for me, on the first day of filming, I had a lot of anxiety about it because we deliberately were planning something that was more ambitious than we really necessarily have the ability to pull off. So I'd been having a lot of anxiety about whether it was not just going to be a disaster, and so I pulled up on and plus, we really didn't have the right number of people to do everything. So Carrie and I were building the sets in the couple of weeks beforehand. Trying to do as much as we possibly could just on our by ourselves, and so the first day, I mean, I was driving all of the costumes and the bits and pieces up in a truck, which I don't think many movie directors normally do that.
No, David.
So on the one hand, it's like, yeah, we can get this done. On the other hand, it's like, that's fucking stupid. And I just was like, that morning, I was just like, this is just going to be a disaster, and I really shouldn't have started this, and I really regret it, and going to have to apologize to everybody else on the staff that I got us into this mess. And then I arrived, and there was Tonya and Tonya's car, and there was Anne was there with all the the wardrobe set up, and people were getting ready, and the Mel was there, and there were cameras, there were lights, there was just all this stuff, and it was actually suddenly really exhilarating. So at that point, I was like, it's still probably going to be a disaster, but there's no point in not enjoying the moment as it happens. Otherwise, then you really have nothing. The end product could probably be awful, but let's just have a really great time while we do it. And that's when, so after that was just my attitude with it, was just, let's really just, because we have this opportunity to be together again and to work together, and, let's make the best thing that we can. But at the end of the day, let's just make this a celebration of being able to, to be together and make something happen.
Yes.
Fortunately, I don't think it was a disaster in the end.
No, I don't think any of us. And I mean, those of you who are still here in the chat who watched, it wasn't. It's incredible. And for all of this to happen in a month, I mean, to me, it's just still, every time I see it and every time I watch it, I see like new things, and I'm just like, it's just amazing. I know I'm biased, but it is really brilliant. And it was a feat. And it was worth it, I think.
Yeah, I don't think we'll get to do it again, but it was.
You never say never.
Well, so, I mean, not like that. I don't think we would ever embark on anything quite like that again. And ISC at the end of the day is a live production company. Somebody says it certainly was not a disaster. Oh, Independent Shakespeare Company says that. Oh, that's good. It's good to hear.
No, okay, there's others.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
Hey, Scott.
Gary.
Oh, Gary.
We love Carrie. Couldn't have made this without Carrie either. Great. Well, I guess the last thing I would say before we say our goodbyes, David, what's next for Live at the Porpentine?
We are going to be putting it out, what we're calling on demand, which is really on YouTube. So we're going to leave it on YouTube. I think it's probably going to be another week or so before we put it up because we've got a couple of things that we need to do to it. Then it'll be on YouTube. I think at some point we need to have a live in-person premiere. And I think that could possibly, and probably it would be really fun if we could do that in the park. A big free live performance of it at some point.
That would be amazing.
And you know, I would like to take it to a couple of festivals, but I don't really, and I'm not really very good at knowing which ones to target or how to do that. So I need to maybe get some advice from some other people. I think it would be nice in the sort of year or so that we've got, since it's now sort of available to the public, to see if we can screen it a couple of places, and then we need to get some kind of distribution deal for it. And you know, we're definitely going to make a DVD of it that we can sell in the park, and then see if there's a streaming platform where it can live. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't fit very neatly into any categories, not even into the category of Shakespeare movies. So
no.
I don't quite know where the right place for it is. Maybe a sort of Broadway HD or something like that, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to it. We all look forward to it. And that's just a sign. Please keep supporting ISC. For everyone watching, donate to us, share, spread the word, because this is definitely just the beginning of Live at the Porpentine's journey. And thank you all so much for taking time to join us and to speak with everyone in our chat. Have a great rest of your evening, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Yes, Richard, we love it. Bye.